I'm going to call the meeting to order. And is there a motion to approve the December 1st minutes?
Sure.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of accepting the minutes for the December 1st meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Susan, again, I want to compliment you on the great job you're doing with those minutes.
Thank you.
Okay. Subcommittee updates. Do you have anything to report on the trails?
Well, I'm thinking with all the information that we gleaned from the last meeting,
Yeah?
we probably could put together a recommendation for the commissioners,
Okay,
with the exception of cross-country trails.
okay,
And that probably won't be able to do anything with until after the season's over.
okay,
You know,
all right.
But people who are too busy to want to be involved, but we could kind of table that and talk about that in the spring.
But you feel that as far as the other activities that would go
I think
along with the
so.
trails, you've got enough information?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, all right. Could you kind of compile some of that and put it
Yep.
in form so that we could discuss it and make a motion?
Definitely.
Okay, thank you. Agricultural Learning Center. I've been busy. Yesterday morning, I met with a Rachel Dandino, who's with the White Mountain Community College up in Berlin. As you know, at the last meeting, I said that they were interested in seeing what sort of a role they could play in this. And so I met with her. She was their representative, and I met with her. And we had a nice talk, and they're still trying to figure out what they can do. So I took some notes. If I can separate them here. Okay. What she said that they would still try to need to know how much interest there is countywide, but more specifically in the greater Ossipee area, for them to be putting on classes and so forth. And she says, on the 3 campuses that they've got, which is in Conway, Berlin, and Littleton, the minimum size class has to be 6 for them to financially put her in a class. And she said, as far as something down here, she said, I don't have a clue what that would be. I'd have to get that from the administration itself as to what they'd be looking for. But one of the things that we did discuss was putting on perhaps Saturday workshops rather than running courses through the week or the weekend, but just putting on workshops for marketing, business planning, and so forth. I mean, I don't think they'd have any interest in agriculture itself. We'd have to supplement that. But they may be interested in putting on other classes and courses. But again, they'd have to determine how much interest there is for them to be willing to do that. And so that was something that she says that they could take a look at. What she was very interested in was the kitchen in the old nursing home. And she was wondering about the viability of that, whether that was something that they could work with, because she says we might be interested in bringing down some of our, they've got an excellent culinary program up there in Berlin, an outstanding program, and they may be able to bring that down here. I don't think it would be the idea of a scheduled, at the end of it, you know, you get some certificate or something, but teaching people how to put on dinners and things of that sort, be in the kitchen. And so she said, you know, if you could check on that, she's going to get back to me. She said, you know, I could then know. So that's something I've got to get here as to what kind of shape the kitchen is in. I've been told, and you may know a lot more about this than I do, that a while back there was somebody who was interested in doing something with the kitchen, putting up on classes and so forth itself. That didn't work out. But anyway, we've got to determine just what sort of condition the kitchen is in and whether that would be available. The other thing is, if we did decide to have classes down here, where would we have those classes? The space available. So those are a couple of things. But what she did mention, which I didn't know anything about, the college has a program called Work Ready New Hampshire. Are any of you familiar with that? I never even heard of it. And it's tuition free, which I like the price. And she gave me the names of 2 women up there who basically run this. And she says, I would get in touch with them, she says, to see whether what they do might fit down here for what you're looking at. So she gave me their names and phone numbers, and I will be getting in touch with them to see whether that could fit here at all. Basically, it was a good conversation I had with her. She was saying that she is very interested in this because she is a small-time farmer herself. And so she was very interested in basically seeing how this would go. So I thought that meeting went very well. She said, look, with all the holidays coming on, she says, don't expect to hear from me sometime in January. I said, that's fine. She said, but I'll get back to you and let you know what our thinking is on that. So I said, okay.
What was her name?
Her name was Rachel Dandeneau. And let me spell that for you. Dandeneau. And she's a professor up there, and she teaches environmental programs.
Okay.
The other thing I did, and I want to hand this out. That's for you, Susan.
Thank you.
Okay. Gail. And this has to do with what I would hope the Agricultural Learning Center would want to do. And that is and we want to discuss this, to help beginner and small farmers succeed, to create more agricultural opportunities, to diversify the county's economic base, to help the county become more food sustainable, and how do we meet those goals, identify farmers' educational marketing needs, and develop programs to meet those needs. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, I apologize for being late.
No problem. Hey, let me. Okay. But that's just a brief thing. I have not had a chance to run that by Glenn Cordelli, Representative Cordelli, to get his feedback on that yet. But I was thinking that trying to identify and set parameters on what we wanted the Agricultural Learning Center to do, what's goals we hope that it would accomplish. So does anybody have any thoughts on that? I realize just handing it out is not giving you a lot of time to really look at it. But
Does it also need to meet, would it also serve for some of the existing schools, high schools?
let's say
Not on here.
Bruce Farr was here
Yeah.
at our last meeting, and they do have a program down there. I talked with the woman who runs the program at Kennett.
And that one's sort of dead, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
Isn't that one sort of dead?
It is dead.
Yeah.
According to her, she said that she's kind of polled the student body, and at that time, she could not find any real interest at all in an agricultural program at the high school. But Bruce was very interested in that. Yeah. But what she did say is, if a program develops, I'd like to know about it because I get back and talk to students again, now that there was something here.
Well, I know that Bruce said that they have a program already.
Yes.
So that means that they do not need to use anything that we would develop here.
No, other than maybe the
That's what-
student.
That's what I'm trying to figure.
I thought he said if we had animals here, they
They'd be
would
livestock.
develop a program
For livestock.
for livestock.
Yes, I think I remember that as well, Amanda.
I think he said he would develop. I
He
think that's a
would,
definite.
he would, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but I kind of was under the impression this was more of a learning program that we were looking at, more than assisting,
More than a what?
an assisting program.
Okay. I talked with a local farmer in Conway, and I asked him if he would be on the subcommittee, and he said yes, he would. And we got talking about it. He's into goats. He raises goats. And he said, one of the things you may want to be thinking about, he says, and I'll speak for myself, he said, I would be willing to come down there some Saturday, he said, and have a workshop on raising and so forth goats. He says, and it's very possible there may be other farmers in the area that would be willing on a Saturday to come down to talk about things that they do. And I ran this by Rachel, who, as I say, I met yesterday, and she liked that idea very much. And she says, you may find, she says, like through the Farm Bureau, you may find a lot of farmers in the area who raise bees or livestock or into orchards. She said, who may be willing to come down on a Saturday and basically, give a workshop on, and it wouldn't necessarily have to be people who are thinking about farming. It could be just people who are interested in gardening or sitting out in an orchard or something like that. She said, it could have much broader appeal.
Bruce?
Yes.
One little potential wrinkle is if those workshops were during the summer months, you're gonna have a hard time getting farmers
Yeah.
to attend them because of the markets.
Yes, yeah, and that point was brought up as well.
Okay.
That those would work much better in the late fall, winter, and spring than they would in the
Well,
summer.
I know that my markets go year-round.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you see, probably maybe what you want to look at more is what is your target audience for this?
Mhm.
Well, that's the thing, we really don't know at this point in time what the target audience is. I mean, we can sit here and we can identify what we would like the target audience to be, but do we really know what that target audience is going to be?
Well, if you're going to target young people, then you have to have a different type of educational approach than if you're targeting retirees.
Uh-huh,
Then if you're going to do something for local farmers, if you're going to teach, if you're going to have a workshop for local farmers, then you have to have higher level learning. For
Mhm.
example, if you're going to have a workshop for local people with swine, you want to have, like the one I went to the other day in Concord, where the vet came from Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
and that's what she does. Her job is swine health. And she could ask the questions of people that actually have pigs and
Uh-huh,
raise pigs.
uh-huh.
And, because that's a whole different audience than if you have people that are thinking about getting some piglets.
yes, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so you have to have a different type of thing. And if the ones that are, the younger ones, if they're thinking about raising pigs, that would have to be more like a week-long or a several weeks program.
Like a day camp for a week.
Right, that type of thing, than just picking someone in, if you have someone that has milk cows and you want to do something to do with dairy, maybe milk nutrition or something like that.
Mhm, mhm.
That's going to be at a different level than somebody that's going to have, I think we're going to get a family milk cow approach.
Mhm.
So, and what Bruce was talking about, having a place where you could have drop in for a week, I think is what he was talking about.
Or for an afternoon.
Or an afternoon. And because I would love to see, because of my teaching background, I suppose, I would love to see all the schools in the county be able to, drop in
Mhm.
for a lesson on this or that or whatever. And there are schools, and the school I was looking at in Vermont is the Shelburne School, and it specializes in sustainable agriculture. And they have regular classes, week-long classes, month-long classes.
Well, that's a big farm operation up there. Is that the one just south of Burlington?
I believe so.
Yeah, yeah. That's a big operation. Yeah.
But I think that before you come up with what do we want to do, maybe we ought to see, what the different audiences are
Mhm.
and how
How do you think
to
we go
address
about
those.
determining that, Amanda?
Well, I don't know. There are some agricultural surveys that have been done for the state. I don't know if they're divided into counties or not.
Do you know who did them?
The ones I do are USDA. I have some that come through for swine and then,
Yeah, you can get, if it's a USDA production type survey or with a census,
yeah.
those are typically geared or addressed to farmers. Because I fill out one or two of those, it seems like a year. But that doesn't really typically address the non-farming.
Well, no, but that would give you one segment of what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Um,
And usually you can get those reports online,
I believe so.
and they've got information by county
Oh, they do, I
Usually,
didn't know
yeah,
that.
yeah, usually by county.
And that's through USDA?
Mhm. Who does the stats section? NASS?
I don't know.
I think it's NASS. NASS.
NAFF.
National Agricultural Statistics Service or something like that. Sounds good anyhow.
Oh.
Sounds impressive. Okay.
What about extension service?
They
maybe
would
don't-
know.
Yeah.
They would have a good handle on it.
Okay, so just to make sure that I understand this, they may have some surveys and data that would help us to define the audience that we'd be looking for?
What there is in Carroll County?
Yeah, for an audience, okay, well,
Well, in terms of the farming type.
yeah. What about
Right.
the Carroll County Farm Bureau? Would they be of any assistance in this, do you think?
Possibly, probably.
Well, I'm a member of the Farm Bureau.
You are?
Yes, me too.
Yeah. Could the two of you just check and see whether,
Who's the current president?
Horskin, Miss Horskin. Oh, Charlie Horskin's daughter. I can't remember her first name. Oh, that's.
Olivia would know.
That's embarrassing. Yes, because I'm on the board, so.
yeah, if you could get some information and email it to me, I'd appreciate that very much.
What type of information do you want?
Well, I think, I think we've been talking about the audience, try to be able to define what those audiences would be. And again, I just want to be sure that I'm getting a sense of all of this. Again, that, audiences would be different. As you say, if somebody's just looking to raise a pig for the fall, what they want to know might be completely different than somebody who's thinking of going into this wine business and filling a barn full of them and so forth and selling them in the market. So the two different audiences here altogether, and that may be the case with a lot of other workshops as well.
Well, yes,
What is
we
the
have
audience?
organic farmers, both agricultural and
Livestock.
livestock.
Yeah. Do you think those surveys would help us to define the audiences in that way?
Who would know who the organic, that they're licensed with the state, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I think.
Not licensed,
They're certified.
certified,
Oh, certain.
Yeah.
but they do have a list of all the organic, certified organic farms.
Is that in the Department of Agriculture?
Mhm.
It is.
And some farms will have more than one certification.
I think too, we need to decide whether we're looking at having a working farm with these lessons occurring on it, or whether we're going to have just buildings where people come and bring whatever they need to teach the lesson.
Are there presently buildings available that if somebody wanted to come down to give a workshop or a series of workshops on pigs, where they could do this, where they could have the pigs there?
Probably,
goats or
but now
rabbits.
you're getting into a problem because nobody is going to bring their pigs unless they're show pigs because of the disease potential.
Okay, yeah, I can understand that. Yeah,
The
okay.
The swine industry was hit really quite badly with baby pig disease a couple of years ago, and
Okay.
they're still reeling from it.
Yeah,
And New Hampshire only had 3 or 4 cases, I believe, reported. So everyone's pretty much quarantined, they quarantine
Okay.
themselves.
yeah.
Um, the ones that do the shows, they would have probably more apt to bring the ones that they take from fair to fair
Okay.
for year for an activity. But a lot of them, I know at the end of the fair season, they quarantine them or they slaughter them.
If we had a workshop in which, and we'll stick with the pigs for the moment here, in which somebody's gonna come down and say, okay, this is how you raise a pig, would they actually need the pig there to do it? Or could they have that workshop without the livestock right there?
Well, it would be like if I were to teach you how to dissect a lobster so you could eat it.
Yeah,
I could do it all on paper
yeah,
and pictures, but it would be a whole lot easier if you
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
had a
yeah.
physical lobster there.
yeah,
to-
yeah.
Can we practice that theory?
I'd like to.
They're on sale at Shaw's right now.
You know, it's the difference between hands-on
Yeah.
education
Yeah.
and books and pictures.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, I think if we found somebody who would be willing to come down here and give a workshop, say from 9 to 1 or something like that, that would be a question to ask them, what they would need, what kind of space and accommodations, and so what they would need to do it.
I think your different levels of education could all be, I mean, you could bring in different people for different levels.
Yeah, yeah,
Amanda has a great point. It would be most farmers like myself that I run into, we're way better at hands-on stuff than we are book stuff. I need to see it and do it, and maybe mess it up once or twice before I get it right.
uh-huh,
The working farm idea is probably at a minimal level to start, I think would be the best way to go about that, because you have, depending on your audience, you could gear what you had here to your target audience. I mean, obviously, right now, the big ones are poultry and swine, I
And
think.
bees.
Yeah, bees.
And goats, people, a lot of people.
Nah, goats are
have
big.
goats.
But you have, and because we live in this place, you have a lot of knowledge of all bees, goats, pigs, and poultry all over this county. I mean, you could throw a dart and hit someone that has chickens and knows a lot about them. And the same with bees and pork and I think I covered them all. So yeah, but then your upper end, you, like the woman Amanda was talking about that came from Pennsylvania, if you charge a fee for a class, you can hire someone to come. And that's what that fee is for. And you can get your higher level of education that way. And, I mean, it would be smart if you had all, say, younger people starting out farmers, and then people that really want to go to the next level. If you have it all in one facility, you're gonna keep your target audience longer.
mhm,
So, that's
Well-
my thought on that.
yeah.
Well, you know, for one thing, I spent quite a while paying someone to come and do artificial insemination with my cows.
Mhm.
And I really tried to attend a class, but they were all so far away that I never went. But that's something that I think would be very popular.
That would be a huge one.
You know, and
I'd be here for that one.
well, not only cows, but they do it now with pork
Yeah.
and with pigs, and they do it with
Goat
goats, I
turkeys?
believe. And sheep, I don't know if they do it with sheep or not, but and then there are the exotics, like the llamas. I'll probably get in trouble for calling
Yeah.
them exotics.
Alpacas.
And alpacas that people raise for the wool fiber. Thank you for
Fiber.
the correct word.
Alpaca and one other fiber.
UNH doesn't do anything like that as far as classes for livestock insemination?
It's part of their semester-long course.
Okay, okay.
Homemade goodies, I promise.
And Susan brought in some goodies too, so.
Whoa, I'm going there first.
We're gonna eat plenty when we get to the hideout.
But
Thank you.
if we could maybe, I don't know if UNH would come up and actually do a semester course here or not.
Maybe not a semester, but you might be able to get somebody for a special topic,
Yeah.
individual
yeah,
topic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can hire people all over the place for that.
Yeah.
Well, I know that when I went to McConkey, it was free because the Northeast
producers.
pork producers presented that and did it.
Well, that would be the ideal thing. You find a sponsor, you're like, hey, we want to do a thing on goats. You talk to the whatever, the goat association, National Registry of Goats, whatever it is, and they sponsor it. I'm sure they have people in their network that are hugely knowledgeable. Just like any beef, any of those, you get someone to sponsor it.
But now, the university does have courses at different places in the state that are semester long.
Mm-hmm.
I just helped a girl finish up a math class that she was taking in Rochester, I think, a college level. So maybe their animal science class might,
Yeah.
if they had a facility and they had, that would, of course, that would cost money, but I mean, they might have a course. They would do that.
Well, it's worth contacting UNH to see what may be available there. I mean, they, I think part of their mandate is they're supposed to get out into the field. They don't like to, but they're supposed to.
Well, and that's part of Extension, but Extension does just little short day classes or
Yeah.
hour classes or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking down at the agricultural school, they might want more. And didn't you send me something about a fellowship from the agricultural school?
Yes, I did. We'll discuss that on the agenda too. But picking up on Dale's theme there, and again, I don't know how it's gonna work out, I don't know if there's any interest, but I'm wondering if you could have just a basic course here. But if you found that there was interest, that they wanted to know more, you could begin to elevate the courses and just keep raising the level if there was interest. So it wouldn't be just, okay, I'm here to raise a pig, but you find out that a lot of the people there want to get further involved and learn a lot more. So the next week, if you can, you bring in somebody else who can take them to that next level, a little more sophisticated. And I don't know, I'm just theorizing here, but you just wonder what, we could perhaps do with these. Because you're right, both of you said, there's going to be, in all likelihood, there may be different levels of interest.
Well, I am sure that if in February you had a class where you actually had a sow pig delivering piglets,
Uh-huh.
that you probably wouldn't be able to get them all into whatever outbuilding you were using here because there'd be so many
Yeah.
people. Because I start getting phone calls in February about people with
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
pregnant
Yeah.
sows
Oh, yeah.
and what to do and how to do and when to do and
Yeah.
where to do. And it would be really nice
Yeah.
if there were
It's happening. Can you come over? You get those calls too?
Yeah, it's that 3 o'clock in the morning phone call.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, that would, I mean, if you did that, it's amazing how many people now are buying 1 or 2 little piglets from all the local agricultural stores
Uh-huh.
and all the people that are buying day-olds. Like, we're talking, I think there's over 5,000 day-olds sold in May at Paris Farmers in Conway alone.
would you please clarify what day-olds are?
Oh, day-old hens,
Poultry.
chickens, poultry,
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's over 5,000 sold in one day.
Yeah.
Ducks and
Anything with wings.
geese and chickens and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for the audience, because a lot of
Yeah.
people don't know, I know what a day-old
Right,
is.
right, you're right. You're
And
right.
it's not only Paris, it's Clark's.
No, I know, but I'm just
Yeah.
using that one store as an
Yeah.
example. That
Yeah.
one store in North Conway is over 5,000. And I was in there the other day and there was a woman that was struggling tremendously with her hens. And she didn't have a clue what she was doing. So I took 10 minutes and we sat down and that's your target audience. You get that out there and anything like that. And Amanda's example is the best. If you take that, the example for the day-old poultry things for the lower level, and then the artificial insemination for the upper level, you'd have just as many people here for that
Mhm.
as you would for,
Mhm.
and both of those things. Because they're not offered.
Yeah, yeah.
And sexing babies. I don't know how many people they'll say, oh, I hatched out 25 chicks and I don't know which of the boys and the girls, and do you know how to do that? And it's like, oh, geez. So you could have a class on that,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
If
But that would have to be
Yeah,
hands.
if I'm getting a sense here, the timing of these things is important as well. In other words, you know, you'd have something on a basic course on raising hens. When they're picking up the day-old chicks, you know, you might not do that.
You wanna do it before.
Yeah, yeah. You might not do that in September or October. The same way with the artificial insemination or when the pigs are being born, you know. The timing could be important. You may not get an audience if you're doing something in the fall, but but in the spring, there'd be standing room only, depending on the cycle
What's
of this
happening,
thing, yeah.
exactly.
But it's not just animals
No.
either, because I'm sure
Growers,
Sandy
too.
gets all kinds of questions about things like, oh, my tomatoes are 4 feet tall and they don't have any leaves on them,
Or how do you start them, or when do you start them, or what do you use? Yeah.
why are my peppers all beautiful and green and they have no peppers?
Mm-hmm.
A lot to think about here.
This discussion that we're going around could be, you could make that as big or as small as you wanted to.
Yeah.
The interest is astonishing.
Well, that was the whole idea, I think. I
And
know-
we have a coverall out there that I think you could probably almost do year-round classes on.
Oh, in the high tunnel?
Is that what they call it? High tunnel?
Yeah.
I'm not a
That's okay,
plant
that's
person.
No.
okay. It's okay.
I was still thinking day old was bread, so.
Well, that's cheaper.
Move along very slowly
Yeah.
for you, Mark.
I'm catching up there.
We'll have you raising animals in no time.
Well, but you brought up a good point, because I have to stop and realize I was raised with animals from I was a toddler, so I was told and did whatever. But there are a lot of people, it's just crazy, because there are animals, like chickens have to have sand or dirt or grit. And a lot of
Right.
people put them in these beautiful pens and they.
Sawdust 14 feet thick.
Right.
Nice and cushy.
And they wonder why they're not doing well.
Right.
And it's
Or
just.
why do my shells keep breaking when I pick up the eggs?
People
People
so,
don't understand.
and that's not something that you can teach somebody in an hour
No.
either. That takes some time,
Yeah.
and you have to explain it. I would expect it with an adult audience. I was trying to think of the things we taught 4-H kids, but with an adult audience, you can go into the biological reasons for that, and why chickens need sand or grit.
That's a great point, because you can tell someone how to do something, but that's just basically telling them what to do. Teaching them why you're doing it
Mhm.
is the important
Yeah.
thing. There's a reason why you do it this way, and this is the reason, and that's your next level up. A lot of people see, they go, oh, day olds, and everyone, all the people that sell those baby animals say, oh, it looks so easy. You just take these little things, we put them under a heat lamp for a couple months, and then we put them in the coop and wait for our eggs. They think it's that easy, some of them. I don't know why my hands are like that, but you know what I mean? So yeah, and it looks really easy to the untrained eye. They don't understand the amount of work, which is why come this time of year, you look at Craigslist and Uncle Henry's and everyone's giving away their animals, they don't know what they're doing, which isn't good either. So, yeah.
But back to the plants too, because that's the same type of thing.
Mhm.
Because a plant that's mistreated doesn't produce well, just like an animal that's
Right.
mistreated doesn't, I shouldn't use that word, mistreated, misfed or whatever. So those are things that, you know, you can have actually continuous. I was trying to think, when you do the special gardener, what do they call them?
Master gardener?
Master gardeners. What kind of, how does that set up?
It's, I forget how long the course is. It's, I think, 10 to 12 weeks. 1 day a month, or 1 day a week, something like that.
Okay, that's what we.
Classroom for the most part. And a wide variety of topics. There are a few field trips. And this is what I'm remembering when I went through it. Experts in various fields were brought in to talk with us. And it was really a high-level survey type information.
Because you were all gardeners though, right?
Mostly, yes. But the primary purpose of the Master Gardener program is to assist the public and to staff a hotline supported by UNH for, you know, Jane Smith next door, who's got something wrong with one of her trees. She'll call in the hotline, and the staff there have got materials, resources, so that they can assist Jane in diagnosing the problem with her trees.
So it's like 911 for gardeners.
Well, it's not only gardening,
Right.
gardening, it is for other landscaping, it is for perhaps food preservation, food preparation, and part of the, you really don't pay much for the training, but it's a payback by you agree to do so many hours of service.
Right.
And you
In the
have to keep-
community, right?
Yes, and it has to be done every year as well to keep up your certification, or to keep your status as a Master Gardener.
Is that through extension?
Yes, it is.
It is, okay.
I know, I was trying to get some master gardeners to come and do the gardens here
Yep.
at the county property.
Mm-hmm.
We have a master gardener working at the museum, helping us put a children's educational garden in.
Sure. Talk with Olivia.
I did, but we didn't have very good results.
Okay.
They were quite busy and committed already.
A lot of them are, and I don't remember what the, I mean, I have let my membership lapse. But it was like 2 or 3 hours a month, something like that.
That may have been it, the wouldn't have been enough time.
Mhm.
Sorry, I sidetracked, but that's part of fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, there's just a lot of good ideas here, and you know,
So one of the things that is coming out though, is that it's like a local expanded educational offerings just for the county, but at a Master Gardener type level or a little above to the general public, whether that's farmers or school kids or homesteaders.
Oh, right, I forgot about that. And sustainable agriculturalists.
Well, see, homesteaders are the people that what I would call a homesteader is somebody who's not a commercial farmer, but who has a flock of hens, 2 or 3 pigs, maybe a milk cow, or maybe some goats, as well as a garden. Primarily, but not exclusively, for their own use. To me, those are homestead.
Okay. Would this be a market, or are they pretty much self-taught and feel that?
It's,
that
no,
they're
it's
appointed?
actually a pretty good market, actually.
Okay.
Pretty good audience.
Yeah,
There is a gentleman in Brookfield that teaches sustainability
Mhm.
farming classes. I'm not very familiar with it,
Yeah.
I've just heard.
yeah.
Do you know who it is?
You know who it is, Ed?
I'm sorry, I was reading something.
A man in Brookfield that has sustainable farming classes.
Is that where we,
Classes, I'm not familiar with that.
Amanda, is that where we had the Farm Bureau dinner?
No,
Okay.
no, that was Tumbledown Farms.
Yeah.
Are you talking about global awareness, local action, Gala, Josh Arnold? Is that what you're talking about? It's not.
Josh is in Ossipee.
This man lives in Brookfield.
Frank Frazier?
But if he sees me on TV, he'll know who I'm talking about. He's over,
Ask him to give you a call.
he's on the Lyford Road, someplace on the Lyford Road.
All right.
So is this something we want the feasibility study to look at? Is this what maybe, because we're sitting here, we've got some ideas, but it sounds like we just can't quite get to where we're going. And I'm wondering if maybe this isn't what we want the feasibility study to one of the
Take a look
things
at it.
anyways.
Yep,
Mhm.
okay,
To
all right.
focus on how to make this a agricultural learning center. We'll probably have to just come up with some more definitions as to what that really is. But, and what it would require.
Well, that's the thing, as I had mentioned earlier, are there buildings or resources here at the county level that we could utilize to do this?
They would need some, I don't want to say updating, but maybe a little patching.
Okay.
Um,
Well, that would be a decision for the commissioners to make as to what was available and if it needed some tender love and care, what would be involved and so forth.
Right, there are buildings.
Yeah,
They're,
Yeah.
some are being used for
Yeah.
storage,
Yeah.
some are,
yeah.
on,
I think that would be
the
important
list
to
to
know
be
if-
removed. but-
Yeah, what would be available here if the decision was made? If the feasibility study determined, yes, there is interest and support for this, okay, what are we gonna need to make that happen? And I think the other thing too, as we've been talking, is someone had mentioned extension. I think it might be interesting to see not only what UNH may have to offer, but what extension locally could have to offer in this.
Well, I think that's been looked at, and what Extension locally would do is, they traditionally go to different people's properties
Yeah,
and do their classes.
yeah,
Whether it be somebody's forest to do a forestry class, or whether it be, what do they call them, twilight walks?
Twilight meetings.
Yeah, twilight meetings to look at someone's garden, or how they're doing
Yeah.
their chickens, or how they're, whatever. But they do it all over the county. So even though their main office is in Conway,
yeah.
they don't focus everything in Conway, they do the whole county. from
Well,
top to bottom.
we've been talking about basically agriculture, but most of the county land is forest. And there may be some interest there as well. There may be landowners throughout the county who have 8 or 10 acres of woodland who may be also interested in basically how do they upgrade that? How can they get greater value out of that? So we may want to broaden it to forestry as well.
Well, when
as-
I'm
as
talking about
gardening.
agriculture, I include
You include
forestry, sugaring.
Yes, exactly. And I think we want to make that point clear. I just don't want to think that we're leaving an audience out altogether because we just don't think they're important. Okay. Okay. Moving along here then. Does anybody have anything else to say about how this is taking shape? we've got a lot of things. You'll be getting in touch with the Farm Bureau.
Okay, that, all right.
Yeah.
Just for audience purposes.
Yes, for audience purposes.
You want me to get in touch with, down to UNH, their two-year agricultural school?
The Thompson School?
Yeah.
Yeah, would you mind doing that and just seeing what they may have to offer on this? Okay.
Now, what about if, can I suggest, like now, don't they have UNH classes in Conway, or not Conway?
UNH?
Yeah. Is there a community college up that way?
There
Yes,
is.
in North Conway there is. It's
Is that
the White
associated-
Mountain Community College.
Same one that's in Berlin and Littleton.
Is that associated with UNH?
Yes, it's a state college.
Yeah.
It's in this, it's in there now.
In that
It's
system.
in this
Yeah,
system,
system.
yeah. Okay. All right. I want to jump around on the agendas a little bit. Let's talk about, in conjunction with that UNH sustainability group that I had emailed everybody. And I think I copied you on an email that I had sent to Tom Kelly, who heads the UNH sustainability programs down there. And what he did is he forwarded that, passed it on to a Megan Cammy, who emailed me back yesterday morning. And I'll read, it says, Tom Kelly shared your email with me, and we're excited to hear of your interest in hosting a fellow with the Carroll County Lands Advisory Committee. I understand it may be too late for this year, but just wanted to make sure you know that the proposal requirements are fairly minimal in case you may want to consider applying for a fellow this year. So she's attached the RFP, and would be glad to discuss if you have any questions. Either way, we'll add you to the mailing list. So even though the deadline had to be in tomorrow, not today, she says that it's certainly indicated that there's something else going on there that we may be able to apply for now.
What would we do with him?
Well, that's what we're here to discuss. Is this something that we could use? I don't know. But as I said, it's the Sustainability Fellows Program. Let me see if she gave me more information here on that. It's fellowship projects. In hosting a fellow for the summer of 2018. About the program. I'd have to look at this more closely, but we'd all want to look at it more
Well, I'm
closely.
wondering if that's something you might want to pass on to the commissioners,
Mhm.
Okay,
rather than this committee.
yeah.
There is a financial commitment from whomever gets an award of $3,500.
I will forward this to the commissioners, to Ken, and to pass on. But as I say, she gives a, let me find the sheet it is here. She gives a schedule, okay. The approved work plan should be submitted to Megan Carney no later than May 9th, so. And that says each fellow receives a $6,000 stipend. I don't know who pays that.
Well, if you read through it, it says UNH pays half of it,
Okay,
and then the partner organizations, let's say the commissioners, if they were awarded one, are asked to provide $3,500.
well, we need to know more about it. But as I say, what I found interesting is that in this, she does say that there are other opportunities, that we wouldn't have to wait till next year. If we had interest, we wouldn't have to wait till next year. But there are other programs that may be available. But you say, how would we use this person? And I don't know at this point in time.
That's the key, yeah.
But I did want to bring it to your attention, because this is the Sustainability Institute. I mean, that's their focus. And in a broader sense, what we're talking, the agricultural program is to help sustainability. And so I don't see this as something that's completely out of the boundaries of what we have been discussing. So I thought that it might be something that would help us moving along. Don't know, but I will forward it to Ken and.
Well, I
the
think if
commissioners.
we had an up and running learning
Yep.
facility, then there would be
Yep.
a position that you could
Yeah,
fill, you know.
yeah, it could be, I don't know, but what she said in the email to me is, if you have any other questions, just get back to me, which I will do. Okay, any further topic of discussion on the UNH sustainability program here? Okay,
I do know that
Yes, Sam.
the Mount Washington Valley Eaters and Growers, MW Veg, it's a new, small organization that started up here in Carroll County, has applied for one of these fellows.
they have,
Yeah.
okay.
And what are they going to do with him?
They're going to, or her, sorry.
Or, that's right.
They're gonna be using that person to help with some marketing and outreach.
For who? For small farmers?
Actually,
Local growers.
local growers.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, MW Veg, it's an organization made up of primarily vegetable produce producers at this point. And who are doing commercial accounts, wholesale, type to restaurants and
insti-
stores and
Restaurants, institutions,
camps,
okay, yeah,
that kind of thing.
yeah. And they're gonna be going out there doing the marketing,
They're going to be assisting with it, yeah.
yeah, okay.
And you build up the membership of the organization and to get more of the customers, the target customers.
Is this something that Julie Moran is doing, something along
No.
that line? No, no.
No.
How is it different? Because it seems to be almost the same.
Um,
They're doing the networking
Well,
with the selling.
what the co-op does is they have an online ordering system and they
Yeah.
do the pickup and delivery.
Yeah,
And this MW Veg is totally different in that it's just essentially marketing and calling awareness to
Okay.
which restaurants or customers are in fact having local food.
okay,
A way that grower A can be in contact with customer B,
Right.
and oh, we're in the same, let's get together. That type of thing,
And that
right?
kind of a thing, also, the organization purchases an ad in the dining guides twice a year, and they highlight and name the customers that have in fact purchased local food.
you say this is a new organization?
It was formed about a year and a half ago,
Okay.
year and a half.
Okay. And it's not affiliated or connected with anybody else? It's
Not
just
at this time, no.
standalone? Okay, okay.
Oh, what else did we do? Had a booth at the chili cook-off, teamed with Upper Saco Valley Land Trust for the fields on the Saco dinner that was held this past fall.
Okay.
But anyway, they're getting one of the, they're applying for one of the sustainability fellows.
Okay. All right, moving along. At the last meeting, there was just very brief discussion on, and I thought that we would, the general consensus was we need a really clear vision in order for the community to get on board with our plans as well as to get outside funds. Just what exactly, what are we looking for here? I'm not quite sure on that.
Well, the land belongs to the people in the county,
Yeah,
so if we're gonna do something with it, we probably
Yeah.
should at least have their support that it's,
well, we've got a mission statement. In the mission statement, it talks about that. Finding optimal use or uses for the benefit of Carroll County residents and taxpayers. So I think we're kind of acknowledging that it's their land, and our goal is to find optimal use or uses for them. And I thought that what we had felt we would do after the listening sessions is basically kind of categorize some of the things that they wanted us to take a look at, which we did. We're in the process of doing that. And then get down through those and basically the creation of subcommittees or whatever. We created a subcommittee to look at the trail network, what we could do with some of the forest land there. We're looking at agriculture and so forth, and basically kind of then decide and go through each one of those, because I thought what we had made the decision on was that maybe a lot of these did not need to be included in the feasibility study, that basically we could determine just from the information that we had, that we could say, okay, we don't need to be spending money on that. And so what we kind of do is winnowing those down, and what we ended up with, like today was saying, well, maybe we need to include the Educational Learning Center and in the feasibility study, because this seems broader than what we are able to put our hands on. So there was an elimination process here. What can we do ourselves, and what did we feel should be included in the feasibility study? So I thought that that was the process that we had adopted early on that we're going forward. Did I misread that in any way?
I think that's what we're doing.
that's what we're
isn't it?
doing.
Yeah, so I'm not sure, I missed something here. For the last meeting, we had talked about a clear vision. So maybe I need to get a better definition of what vision that we need to be doing.
Hmm?
That was your phrase.
No, actually, that was Olivia.
Oh,
Yeah, I believe. I think she was
Thank you.
talking about,
I'm gonna take the hit on that one. Thanks,
You're not gonna be the heavy on that, huh?
That's what really good on my back, thanks.
Okay,
no,
good.
she was talking about, just a clear vision, including our plans for 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, how are we gonna develop the land? If we're not expecting to have all of this done in 1 year,
Mhm.
what does it look like?
Yeah,
So really,
That's all she meant.
not
Okay.
so much vision as tentative timetable.
yeah.
Right.
And what we're doing.
Yeah, what we're doing and when we're
I mean,
doing it.
we have all these visions of grandeur and great ideas, and we keep coming up with more and more and expanding and expanding.
Mhm.
And I think this brings me back to, I've said this before, instead of expanding, I think we need to focus on the things that we think are going to work and decide whether we want to do them ourselves and keep them out of the feasibility study or include them in the feasibility study. And then just go piece by piece by piece, and that will help clear everything up, I think.
Yeah, I think that's.
Like
what
today
we-
was very helpful with, I think we've decided that this agricultural learning center, we want to go for,
Yeah,
but it needs to be in the feasibility study. Whereas the trail systems, we think we have a pretty good handle on it with the information we have.
yeah.
So now we can not cross those things off because we're not gonna do them, but we can cross them off our list of things we have to worry about right now. And the more things we cross off our list, the more clear the picture will come. And I don't mean cross off the list by not doing them, I mean cross off the list by going through them and being done with it and deciding whether we're doing it or the feasibility study is doing it.
Well, maybe we can just pass some of that off to the commissioners.
As far as,
Well, we kind of know what we want for trails, basic ideas.
right,
Yeah.
So the actual decisions, we can give back to the commissioners.
But are we
What they'll do is
doing-
make a trail subcommittee or something.
but are we doing just trails, open trails, or are we going back to the idea of bringing someone in maybe that wants to open up a cross-country ski business on the property?
Have you considered that, the various options in the report that you're gonna be bringing back?
Well, I think even though that's non-motorized, the cross-country skiing, I think that we can separate those out from hiking, biking,
Uh-huh.
snowshoeing, horseback
All
riding.
non-motorized
Yes.
activities.
Those
versus-
all could be, free to the public.
Yeah, yeah.
Utilizing the grant we talked about, or Bob was telling us about
Yeah.
in that last meeting,
Yeah.
versus cross-country skiing, where we're talking about bringing a business in and having them run it.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a whole nother ball of wax there when you're talking about cross-country skiing, the conditions of the snow and competing with other trails.
I thought Bob had a lot of good information.
He did.
Very helpful. And, but let me just jump around here for a second. As to the timetable, and I'm glad that Amanda, you both are here, because you're ultimately the decision makers on this. As we move along, and as Dale says, we reach a decision on something, and we'll just talk about the trails here, and this committee makes the decision that we feel we have enough information to implement something. Are we gonna wait until we have finished the whole thing up here? Or as we make a decision and reach a decision on something, we may want to pass it off to county government and say, hey, we feel we're ready to go with this. So it may be piecemeal. We haven't
Well,
really
I don't
discussed that
think-
at all.
I don't think this committee is supposed to be actually physically making the trails and designing the trails. We were asked to to put stuff together for a feasibility study. So if we
Yes.
say that the non-motorized trails don't need to go to the feasibility study, but we think they're a good thing and they should be done,
Yeah.
then that needs to go back, I think, to the commissioners.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
And then
yes.
the commissioners
Yeah.
would appoint
Yeah.
a subcommittee to
Okay.
actually go out
Yes.
and get shovels and build the trails. or-
It is my understanding, and again, if I'm wrong, someone correct me, that when the feasibility study is done, that's going to be handed to the commissioners and say, okay, this is the recommendations and so forth that we feel. This committee has done its work. Now it's in your hands, in the delegation's hands, as to what you're going to be doing with it. Well, my point is, I'm trying to make and not doing a very good job. Say that we feel that we have enough information so that, quote, the committee can complete the feasibility study on the trails. So should we just kind of sit on this and hoard it for the next year and a half, and until we get the whole thing all done? Or should we, if we feel comfortable with what we've done on the trails, we just give that again to you, the commissioners, and say, okay, that part of the whole plan is completed. And now it's up to you what you're gonna do with it.
Well, because I believe in progress, not perfection, but if you want to wait and hold it all for the final.
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering, is there a value to holding everything until the whole thing is done? Or as we complete the pieces, we then basically give it to the commissioners, the delegation, and say, okay, we have finished this particular aspect of our charge. Dale?
My opinion here,
Yeah,
but if we think we have enough information for the trails,
yeah,
then we give this information to the commissioners.
yeah,
And say, just for argument's sake, they're gonna say, yeah, this looks like a great idea. if we implement that or start implementing it, I think, A, it'll show that we're actually doing what what we said we were gonna do. And B, people are gonna see that things are happening and are gonna be more likely to support anything else we do when they see that we're actually, something tangible in front of them is happening. 'Cause we can talk about it all.
With us implementing it.
Right. I don't mean, I'm not the political one in the room. I don't mean us, I mean the commissioners implement it, or the delegation, whoever.
Right.
Not me,
Oh,
but if we, and you say, you guys say go ahead, and you guys say go ahead, you gotta make sure I cover everybody, and stuff starts to happen, people are gonna be more inclined to say, wow, they're actually doing what they said they were doing.
yeah.
Let's support this, and maybe they're gonna have another good idea, let's see what happens next. And then you're gonna get more people involved, because you're gonna have people actually want to come and help build these trails and you're gonna have, oh, I have a Boy Scout group that wants to help out, and all that stuff, and it just grows and expands from there. So I think if we do it that way,
Mhm.
it's foolish to sit on it for a year.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I'd like to hear a counter argument that
Yeah.
we complete something, that we feel we've completed this. Why sit on it until we get everything all done?
I agree.
Let's
Is
drop
there-
that acorn.
Pardon me?
Let's drop that acorn.
Exactly. Is there, I don't, we need to take a vote or anything unless we've got a video, but is the consensus that that's what we should be doing as we've completed one stage, one facet of this, that we basically then turn it over to county government and say, okay, this is yours, we've completed this?
On the-
What's your thought on that as the commissioner's representative to this committee?
I would think it would be a good process.
Okay, Mark, your thoughts?
It comes through the commissioners.
Yeah,
I
Now,
agree
but-
with what you're talking about.
yeah, okay.
But I will give a small word of caution. You must, this committee would have to prepare a nice, informative presentation that would convince all three, or two of the three commissioners,
Right.
that it's a good thing to do. And then it would be up to them how they would implement it.
So what's your favorite color 3-ring binder?
Well, I
I'm
think.
preaching to the
yeah.
choir.
No.
So, yeah.
I think Amanda brings up a good point, and that is, to me, anything that we submitted that we feel is complete might have to be far more detailed than just say, gee, non-motorized trails would be a great idea, and, people would like to hike, and so, if I were a commissioner, I'd say, okay, what's it gonna cost? What's it gonna cost to do that? I wouldn't say, well, now you gotta go out and see what it's gonna cost to do it. We just come up with the idea, now you gotta implement it. I think we've gotta be talking to some people, and as Mark has said in the past, there may be gravel and so forth on a property that can be utilized. I think we've gotta know that. I think the commissioners have to know that. So I think there have to be a much more detailed plan as to, this is a great idea and we think there's support for it, but this is some of the things that the county government now has to do. It's got to identify those trails. It's got to determine how much work needs to be done on those trails to get them in shape and what the cost of that may be. How are you going to monitor those trails so you've got all these different uses on it? If I remember Bob, and I hope I'm not confusing him with somebody else, that if you got a cross-country ski, there's somebody on a horse, and all of a sudden somebody comes riding through on a snowmobile, are you asking for trouble? I mean, he talked about wide trails are better than narrow trails. I mean, so there's a lot more detailed work that has to be done on this that we've got to be thinking about. And remember, I had asked early on, both to Mark and to Amanda, if we complete some of this work, would basically the commissioners in the delegation accept it as good, solid work and research that has been done? And I think there's got to be a lot more detail to this than we think, if we're going to be doing it. And I got no problem with us doing it. But just to say, oh, it's a great idea, let's do it. Now you figure it all out,
Well, that brings me to my next point.
Okay, good, go.
So next week, or the next meeting, your subcommittee will have something for the non-motorized trails.
Next meeting?
Well,
No.
I'm
There
just
is a
saying, no.
Christmas in here.
Yeah.
Well, we
Yes.
talked about it before Amanda and Mark got here, but you would have something that showed
Yes.
kind of what we were doing.
Yeah.
Now, should we stop doing educational stuff and whether we want to have a working farm and focus on this and write a really well-prepared and put the effort in as a group
Well, what I would like to see
to
is,
find that information?
we don't know that yet, because we don't know what Susan's gonna present, what her subcommittee is gonna be putting on. I'd rather see that first.
Oh, no, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. We
And-
take
yeah.
our information
Yeah.
and then we focus on that until we get something done.
But we
to give to the
created
commission.
subcommittees, so basically, it wouldn't bog down the full committee here. So is there any reason why this subcommittee, I'll just use the Agricultural Learning Center, why that committee couldn't continue its work? Why should others just be sitting here waiting to
No,
hear from Susan?
your subcommittee can keep working.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
But this 6-member committee
Yeah.
will focus on that
Yes.
report. That's what I'm talking
Yes,
about.
but-
Not,
yes, yeah.
because how many people do you have on your subcommittee?
Me.
Right. So we're gonna have to give her a hand. We're gonna have to give her a
Not that kind of
theoretical
thing.
hand
Yeah.
to get this done. And yeah,
Yes.
there's a lot of legwork involved.
There's gonna
It's
be a
not
lot of
fair-
work involved in that.
And it's not
Yes.
fair to her to have to do it herself. And if we're gonna do this, and I don't want to hand over a piece of paper that says, trails are good, please do this, and be like, here you go. I wanna do something that is, they're gonna say, wow, they put their work in. They have a clear picture of what we want, and they can say yea or
Exactly.
nay and then go forward with the process.
Because to me, I think, now I'm gonna get political to some extent here. Our credibility, this committee's credibility is on the line. And I
Right.
think, and I
Well, I
think the
said that.
very first thing we put on the table, saying, we've looked at this and we think this has a lot of merit. If it was me, I'm gonna be turning the pages and saying, okay, to make this, to implement this, what's involved? What do we need to do to implement this? And what's it gonna cost? How is it gonna be monitored? Are there gonna be any rules and so forth? What if somebody's out there riding their horse and somebody comes through in an ATV? I mean, I said, Bob talked about wider trails to deal with that. I mean, there were a lot of questions here that we've got to at least consider so that any proposal or any feasibility study that we submit, is gonna say, okay, they've answered almost all of the questions that we would
The
have.
presentation should answer all those questions
Right.
during the presentation. May I suggest,
Yes,
because we have a tendency to talk in circles, that we set the last meeting in January for the presentation of the Trails Committee to this group.
okay.
And then from there, we can look at it and say, well, yeah, that's perfect, give it to the commissioners, or, well, I think we need as a group to work another week or two on
Yeah.
this. or
Does
whatever.
the end of January seem reasonable to you,
Yep.
Susan?
Yep.
Okay. Why don't we plan on that then? That last meeting in January, will basically, the flow will be yours.
But I think you can also, if we're heading in this direction in another couple of weeks, you can do a press announcement that, we're coming to a consensus, the trails might be a project that wouldn't require paying consultants to work with, but, we're heading in that direction, and perhaps we bring, once people know we're doing that, that
Yeah.
shows the committee's up to something.
Yeah,
And then you might draw people back into it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Because by then we'll have mapping and everything else that will
Yeah.
help assist.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interest that we don't have to wait till we do the final presentation. We can come out with, this is a great idea, this is what we like.
Yeah.
Come help us.
It's,
Like an
exactly.
interim report?
Well, and we might invite Damon to come to that, to the subcommittee's presentation.
Invite the press.
Well, that
Yeah.
Damon was.
Yeah, we've got the Carroll County
What's that?
Independent, Conway
The
Sun,
maps, the overlay
McMahon State,
things?
invite them here.
I've got
I'm sorry.
a question on the mapping.
Okay.
Two things. I was going to print you off a bunch of color copies today and my plotter's down right before I came, so that didn't happen. I'll have plots for you next time. I went back to LRPC and asked them who would be the best place to source out to get our overlays and if they can provide us that. And Amanda had mentioned about a Mylar over the top that we could draw on and so forth. So I put that out there, and I will get an update from Chris Gumash from the Trails System, where he is in putting his map together. And I'll have that for you next time.
Okay, good. Susan, if you need anything at all, don't hesitate to email us, okay?
Yep.
because a lot has to come together here now as well. And as I say, we want it to be as professional as we can make it. Because if we're going to be inviting the press, and I think that's a great idea, we want to be able to give a good professional presentation. Okay. So we're comfortable with,
So that's non-motorized trails,
yeah,
and that is January what?
26, that's the,
26th,
well, our next meeting is
the 29th.
the 29th, and then
29th.
after that is the 12th of January, and then the 26th.
26th, okay, 1/26/18. Okay, and that's going to be the Trails presentation.
Tentative.
Tentative. Okay. I have faith in Susan.
Do you want to talk to Wendy about, we can have that,
Okay, all right. Is there anything else that we want to discuss as far as the review process here, the way we're moving along? We're comfortable with the goals and the steps and the process that we're using? We're on target as far as that goes?
Now, the idea of putting the learning center into the feasibility study.
Yep.
That needs more
More
work, right?
That means,
More
Yes.
work.
yeah, well, you know, that's a good question. I don't know. You know, what we need to do is to complete an RFP on that, a request for proposal, because it's going for bid.
Well, no, I don't think we're ready for the
No,
feasibility
we're
study.
not, but
I
I'm talking
just-
about the process. You know,
Yeah,
you were saying, you know, how will we go about doing this, and how much more information will we have to gather? But I believe in RFP, basically, you outline, this is what we want to know. This is the information we want. We want the person who's going to be doing the feasibility study to gather for us. And we've touched base in the last hour on a lot of those different things. What they would be doing, if we say, okay, these are the things, this is the goal. We want to set up an educational learning center here. And this is a rough outline of what we want to do there, to teach, how to set it up. Now, what this person would do is they'd go out and they'd start talking to people. They would kind of duplicate some of the initial work that we've done here and kind of narrow it down and say, okay, they'd go to the White Mountain Community College and say, okay, what kind of courses and projects could you run? They'd go to Extension and say, they'd probably contact the Farm
So
Bureau.
we're gonna pay them to do what we've already done?
Well,
Well, there's no reason why,
we don't have we've asked a lot of questions, we've discussed a lot of things, but we don't have any answers. Dale?
getting back to your White Mountain Community College culinary
Yep,
classes,
yep.
potential kitchen use of the old nursing home.
Yep.
Do we have any idea, rough or any, as to what shape that kitchen is and/or what it would take to bring it up to usable?
I believe it was just recently updated to standard specifications for a culinary school.
Okay.
Am I?
I think at least a report was generated. That was my understanding, that we were going to receive, commissioners were going to receive a report on what that would look like and what the costs were.
Because if we had that information, then Steve could take that to his
Yeah.
White Mountain Community College and say, this is what we have to offer. What can you do with that? And that
Okay.
would clarify
Yeah,
that.
neither Amanda nor Mark were here when I gave my report
Right.
of my meeting with the White Mountain Community College person. And we discussed a lot of different things, a role for them, what they could do. But one of the things that she asked was, she was very interested in the kitchen, in the old nursing home. They have a very good culinary program up there in Berlin at the college. And she was really in, she's, let's talk about the kitchen. And I said, okay, what do you want to know about the kitchen? She's, I'm going on the basis, since it was a public kitchen for the nursing home, that it meets certain state and federal standards. And I said, I would think so. And she said, that's a big plus. And she says, you know, we could begin to give workshops down there, classes and so forth. She says, I don't know the depth and the detail we'd get into. She says, but we could certainly begin to make a presence down there and she's, and get involved. She was very interested in the kitchen, very interested in the kitchen. And I told her, I said, I don't have answers to that, but we've got a meeting tomorrow, and I'm sure that Amanda, one of the commissioners, will be there. Right, so let's find out, what is the status of the kitchen?
They were going to have a culinary school in there.
Yes.
And I
Yep.
believe that physically the kitchen was updated for the culinary school.
Okay,
Now, when they decided not to have,
yeah,
because it was the people with the culinary school that paid for the update.
yeah,
The county did not.
okay,
So whether they took any of that with them or not, I do not know.
okay. So we don't, at this point in time, we don't really know whether someone could go in there and start running classes and so forth. No, but that'll be easy to get an answer to that, but?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all
Is that a
right.
room we could physically see?
Yes. Yes.
Question?
Yes, Sandy?
Why did the people that were going to be running the Culinary Institute back out?
The gentleman got very ill.
There were other issues also.
I thought so. I thought I remember reading that there were other issues, some
Yes.
serious ones.
I think accreditation and bonding, I think bonding was a large, they did a tremendous amount of investigation, but I think as they got deeper into it, became more problem.
Did they actually do any updates?
I don't know that.
Yes.
I know the
You're sure?
commissioners issued a draft proposal on what it was going to be required for someone to take over that space. So if we came up with that document,
Yeah.
we would have a document that says, if you want to do this, here's where they were at that point. in
Yes,
time.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it'll start letting them identify whether that makes sense.
Yeah.
Could we get
And that would
that
be quite
document?
current, that would be quite current.
yeah.
Could we get that document?
Amanda, could you
Yeah.
track that down
I
and
can.
get back to us? Because as I said, much to my surprise, she said, I want to talk about the culinary.
That was
The
what,
nursing
a
home.
year and a half ago, or about a year ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you have I don't know if it's a commercial kitchen, but if you have a commercial kitchen on property, that opens up so many more avenues other than just the culinary school.
Exactly, exactly,
Tremendous.
yep.
But don't think that it's over there and it's all shiny and ready to go, because it's no.
It wasn't the last
Yeah.
time I saw it, which was about 5 years ago.
And I don't think it's any different today,
Okay,
other than maybe some electrical work, and I could be wrong, but there was a lot of things were taken out of that kitchen and used where they could be. There's some other storage, but I think they've gone through and they've determined what it will take to turn on the freezers and the walk-ins and all that. I believe they got through to that point, but I don't know that
Okay.
they got much else.
yeah,
But
stay.
we'll find out.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll
I'd
get
like-
the
yeah.
information
I'd like to-
because I was over there when they were at Halloween, a year ago Halloween. And the people that were going to open gave me a tour. And I'm not
Yeah.
a culinary teacher, so I'm not 100% sure.
Mhm.
But I do know that a wall had been installed and,
Well, just Bob to give us a tour.
Wiring and stuff. Sure.
We can fit it into
Yeah.
his time schedule.
Yeah.
Do it earlier
Yeah.
than your next meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I'm gonna look forward to you surprising me with where we are with that. So,
I know when I toured that facility, I say 4 or 5 years ago, I had brought in a chef friend of mine, and that gentleman indicated that it would be perfect for culinary school.
He did.
would you like a tour on the 29th?
Yeah,
29th
that's our
of-
next meeting is the
Next
29th.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's our next meeting. Could we
I
get to
will,
it?
please.
I will try to set it up for 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Want to do it for 2?
Let's do
So
it
we
for
can have
2.
our
Yeah,
meeting
yeah,
at
let's
3?
do it for 2, so we don't, yeah.
Oh, can we do it for 2?
that way it's more in Bob's time frame, then have plenty of time for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I won't be the resource on that Friday.
But if I could be able to email Rachel up there at the college as to just a rough idea of of its condition and state, it would be helpful.
Yeah, I will.
Because
not
maybe by the
today, 'cause he's-
29th, I could get back, she could get back to see whether they had any interest. Although, as I mentioned, she said, don't look to hear from us till sometime in January due to the holidays.
I will get the information on Monday.
Okay,
Because Ken's
thank
already
you.
left.
Yeah.
Would an hour give us enough time to go through that area?
Yes, it is. It
as-
will.
As well as the other farm buildings that are here? I've only ever been in the hay barn. I haven't been in any other building here. And you've been saying some of them need some patching. Is there some way we could go see what needs to be done and what buildings and what prior use they were?
Not that day, I wouldn't think.
No.
No, not enough
but-
time.
But I can set it up for the next.
Or is that something, like if I want to do it on my own, I could go see somebody and say, hey,
Yeah, I'm sure people will be.
come in before 3?
Yeah.
If I know you're coming, I will take you over and, I'll show them to you.
You're the best thing since sliced bread.
All right, I don't know about
That goes back to that whole thing, I can, look, read it on a piece of paper, but I need to see it.
Yeah. No, and anybody that wants a tour of anything here, if I know, when you give me some notice, I'll gladly make arrangements to do it.
Okay.
Bring a shovel, because you just don't know what it's gonna look like in January, just getting.
I'll bring my
doors open.
tractor instead.
There
I
you
don't
go.
like to shovel.
There you go.
Maybe I'll bring snowshoes.
Have you seen me? Not conducive to snowshoeing.
Oh, okay.
I will never be on a cross-country ski trail. I'll look at them. Way too skinny.
Okay, so that's gonna be at 2 o'clock on the 29th.
Yes. Now, would you please remind, no, I'll.
Okay. Well, that's everything on the agenda. Is there anything that, we've got a few minutes here, or we can leave now. Is there anything else that anybody wants to discuss? As to how we're moving along, what we're doing? We need to check.
When are you having meetings on, your subcommittee meetings on the agricultural learning center?
That's a good question, Amanda, and I can't give you, what I was gonna ask is, and I wrote it down here, didn't ask you, does anybody know any, it doesn't have to be a farmer, anybody else that might be interested in being on the Agricultural Learning Center Subcommittee? Now, there was a young woman, her name is Sarah something or other, and she's with Littlefield Farms in Madison. She is presently working with the I don't know if it's the elementary school in Conway or the middle school in Conway, to basically start an educational program there. The town of Albany owns 311 acres and comes right up to the old high school, middle school. And Littlefield Farm leases about 8 or 9 acres of that, and they're in the farm big time. And she's been working on her own and talking with the elementary school, I think, in the middle school, about developing an agricultural educational program for the kids. Now, how detailed she is, and I don't know. But what I was thinking of doing is getting in touch with her and to see if it kind of melds with what we're looking at. And basically, and if so, I'd like to get her on the subcommittee from the educational standpoint.
And I think that goes to the Conservation Committee of Albany, the Albany Conservation Committee.
Well, she's been discussing this with the Conservation Commission to get their approval to do this. And of course, the Conservation Commission had no problem with that whatsoever. And unfortunately, Bruce Farr is not want to get on the subcommittee, but he did say he wanted to be involved. So Glenn Cordelli had contacted him, so I've emailed Glenn asking him to define what he means by involved. What does involved mean? Because I think what Bruce told Glenn was that since he doesn't live in Carroll County, he's a little hesitant. But my feeling is he works in Carroll County, and he's the man at Kingswood High School, and I don't care where he lives. I'd like to see him on here.
Well, maybe I can speak with the agricultural teacher over there. I think
Okay,
that
all right. But
person may
yes.
live in the county. but-
Canada, as I said, Canada's not interested at this point in time, but I'd like to see if Kingswood is, because they're a lot closer. And I say, if I can get this Sarah interested as well, then we want to be reaching out to that agricultural, the educational component of getting kids involved. Yes, Sandy?
I don't have her contact information, but Olivia would have it. Hannah, what's her last name? She used to be the farmer at the community school in Tamworth. And she is now working grant-funded at the Brett School in Tamworth with an ag program for the kids.
Could you get in touch with her and see if she might have any interest? I'm more than happy to follow it up.
Yeah,
But if you could just,
I've got her email, but it's
okay,
at home.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, the Brett School, they just got a hoop house, a high tunnel.
Yep.
They've got a composting facility on site. They're growing a lot of their own food now, doing some good stuff.
Yeah. If we can get kids at a young age interested in agriculture, then, you know, hopefully that'll stay
They
with
don't
them.
need to be interested in agriculture is good. Better is being interested in eating good, real food.
Yeah.
Good point.
No argument there. I would love to see all of the schools involved in this, and who knows, if we can get a couple schools going in it, then we may be able to build on it.
Well, and I think if it's something like Bruce was talking about, where it's a drop-in, you know, they can drop in with their class, and they
Yeah,
can
yeah.
not just come and visit, but they can
Yeah.
actually participate in whatever it is their class curriculum is involved with.
You know, as we've been talking about this, and it keeps expanding, and I've got no problem with that, but I can see for this program to really reach its full potential, there's gonna need to be somebody down here, basically contacting speakers and workshops, getting out there, contacting schools. Someone's gonna be coordinating all of this. It's not gonna be just, gee, what do we do next week? I mean, I'm not saying full-time, but there's gonna have to be somebody, even not necessarily on site here, where it's gonna have to be working on an ongoing basis to program all of this, to keep it going. But I think it could be well worthwhile to do it.
Well, I think Mark spoke about it last week or the week, whenever, about having a resident farmer type that would be in charge of this. That
Uh-huh.
would be a,
Well, that may be, yeah, I
you
don't
want
know.
to expand on what you were saying? I don't think I said
I
it
think I'm
properly.
feeling like Dale right now, not knowing that came from me.
Oh.
You know, you've already touched on some things that maybe a fellow would be the perfect person for this. There's people that can pull that together.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be concerned about it. A lot of New England companies are run by call centers, you know, and they're running 5, 6, 8 different businesses around. So that can all happen. There's somebody that can handle that coordination for you. It's just a matter of getting the program put together.
Anything else? Did we beat some of these topics to death for today?
How about them cookies?
In other words, I'll make a motion.
I've been looking at these.
I make a motion that we have dessert.
Yeah. I wonder what the holdup was.
Someone gonna second that motion?
Is there a second on the motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
But they're not cookies. They're, what are they called?
Cake, roll up cake.
Crostata.
They're
Crostata.
delicious.
So what?
Whatever they are.
They're delicious.